All right. Well, we're off to a great start here. Hopefully, the signal is going out well to everybody. Unfortunately, I'm in a different location. And good evening, Mike. As always, Mike from the UK. Thank you for tuning in. And welcome, everybody, to Going nuCLEar, full-blown coverage of the land, part of the Fanatical Elves Network, a subsidiary of Fans First Sports Network. I'm Ethan Greenberg, and alongside of me is my co-host, Mike Rasinski. Mike, how are you doing on this fine Wednesday evening?
I'm doing great. How about you, Ethan?
I am doing pretty well. It's been quiet. I'm not in my usual place here. I'm up in Columbus. I've actually got a great view of Nationwide Arena.
Oh wow! So you really are like right in downtown Columbus then.
I am. And thank you, Mike, for pointing out that the acoustics are terrible. It is a rather large room. Would you like me to show you around? I can do that. But no, actually, seriously, let me try and do something else. Now that this has been pointed out, perhaps it would be a good time to try out my AirPods. So we will do that.
And the reason I think you need to let people know the reason you're up in Ohio too for the celebrity softball game, right?
Yes. Can you hear me better? And if Mike, if you want to comment, does this sound better and not so much like I am bouncing around in a wide open space as I was there? Oh, you got this shirt? Okay, good. GV artwork. Yeah, now I can tell you that they are actually ignoring me, Mike. I specifically have a friend request with George of GV Art, and he's a friend of mine on Facebook now, and he did not respond to my message. So forget him. No, just kidding. He's a busy guy, so it's all good there. No problem at all. Thank you for tuning in, Sherry. Appreciate that. So yeah, I'm up here in Ohio. I went to the Darius Garland Celebrity Charity Softball event, and went with a awesome group of people. Went with Heather, my co-host, our friend here, from Best Doggone Podcast in the Land, along with a number of other people, Lana and Lysandra, and I met another Heather that I actually met at the draft event. But all kinds of stuff. So we had a great time. Got to
All-Star fan weekend too, not just an All-Star celebrity weekend.
I would say so. Yeah, and it was a last minute thing to do the meet and greet with DG. It came at a cost. Other than so only part of our group. So myself, Heather, and let's see, I'm trying to think. It was myself, Heather, and Lana, and one other random person that were doing this meet and greet. So we got a good 5 minutes or more talking to DG, and met Evan Mobley as well.
How did you get the meet and greet? Was it open to everybody, or is it just something you guys were able to snag?
You had to buy it. It was you could get your tickets, and it was kind of tricky to find. You had to go on the ticket. You had to go to edit and select this additional thing. It wasn't easy to find, but a lot of other people had purchased things where like you could go on the field or you could do this, but we were back there. I'm talking to Cam Justice. I'm talking to Chris Fedor. And yes, Mike, I'm disappointed that I didn't get a picture with Mobley. I'm a moron. I don't know. I think I was talking to DG at the time.
Well, you got a good pic with DG though. I mean, that's a great picture to have.
Yeah, you should see the picture of Lana Stefanski girl. She's 4'11", next to Evan Mobley, and I think if I recall right, DG cracked up when he saw this picture.
Yeah.
So it was fantastic. I got to meet. Just happened to be back there. Met Chris Fedor and Cam Justice. So talking to the media members and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, Sherry, this was a once and a blue moon thing. I normally would not do these things, but it was a great opportunity. I attempted to recruit him to come on the podcast. I sent a pic. I tagged him in our picture. I have not received a reply. I did my best. I would.
But you know what you did? You planted the seed. and we'll go from there.
I
Right?
did. Although for next time, I now have a lesson to learn here, Mike. I saw some videos somebody had posted. I don't know who exactly he is, but he was there rather early, and he was out near the field, and he was just talking to guys through the netting. He was like down the third base line. He's talking to Mobley. He's talking to Garland. I'm like, huh, I should have done that. I did get a chance. We were sitting, I was in row B. The other folks were in row A. I'm looking through the netting. And, so I was talking to Kenny Atkinson. I was saying, Kenny, I was like, hey, I graduated, went to UR for my paralegal. I know this person and this person. He's like, oh my gosh, you do? That's a small world. I said, yeah, from this person over at Randolph-Macon. He's like, oh, I shot, pickup hoops there.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So that is crazy. Now, Mike, you asked a very good question. How's the toe? Did I find out? I didn't ask him for a specific update on his toe, but I did in fact say, look, I know how much we could all see how much pain you were in there. And that just sucked. And I told him that he could tell, that Stephen A could shove it up his rear, with his commentary.
So you at least laugh at that.
I think he got a chuckle out of it. I did ask him two very important questions. I asked him who would win in a 3-point shootout between him and Mark Price.
Okay, and his answer was?
And then I also asked him about who had better handles.
Okay,
well,
and how did you respond?
I think the Price one, I don't know if we got a clear-cut answer on the Price one. On the handles question, he said that he's like, AI I was asking him, like, AI, he's like, oh, man, he had the killer crossover. He's like, but I have a better hezzy game. And he does. His hesitation is killer.
Well, when he has all 10 toes, it is.
Well, yes, that as well. That is a very, very important thing. So it was just a fantastic thing. I got Tristan Thompson to crack up at something, from the crowd. He was standing there, and I yelled out. I asked him what his next big tip for crypto was going to be, and he kind of chuckled. Then he posted something on Twitter yesterday, and I was like, "See, I knew it. You laughed when I yelled that out," and he responded with a laughing emoji and liked my comment. So kind of an acknowledgement there.
Awesome. Now let's just hope he's back on the Cavs next year too.
Exactly. I think he will be. I think he's under contract. So, I imagine they're going to need somebody to be down there at the end of the bench. But yeah, it was great. How was your trip to Ohio, Mike?
It was good. So I was back last week. It was a family trip. Got to see the parents and my 3 sisters and their families, and spent a couple days up at Kelly's Island on Lake Erie. Unfortunately, we didn't get to go to any Guards games or anything. Schedule just didn't work out. But more importantly, all 3 boys are still up in Ohio at Camp Grandma and Grandpa. So Nikki and I get to have a couple date nights this week. So that's been fun.
That is fantastic. I've been living the solo life up here, which is okay. As I said, right down here near Nationwide Arena, lots of places to walk. So it's all good. So moving on.
So that's pretty much the Cavs coverage. There's really not much more to talk about for the Cavs.
No, there really isn't. Thankfully, although I know that we have some friends who are heartbroken. There were some, they put out pictures of Isaac Okoro in his Bulls jersey, and I know that stung Heather a little bit there.
Yeah, well, I mean,
she was a big fan.
Yeah, but now she can be a big baller fan.
That's exactly right. I think I was joking with DG about the big baller brand in his shoes.
Well, I guess they can't be any worse than the shoes he was wearing when he stubbed his big toe. So maybe he needs to switch over to big baller brand. I don't know.
No, I don't actually. He did finally get rid of the big ball. Stop wearing the big baller brand.
Was he actually wearing big baller?
Yes. And I believe the rumor has it, or there was discussion that may have contributed to some of his knee problems and some other issues.
Well,
things.
I would think. I mean, why would you wear big baller shoe? Besides, they probably gave him a ton of money. Who are these guys making athletic shoes? Really?
His dad. I mean, there is no.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I don't know. Wait, has JA? I don't know, and that's a good question as well, Mike. I don't know if JA has found new shoes. I mean, I guess he's going to keep killing those Kyries.
Yeah.
You know, he's that's his deal. So Mike, is it not crazy what is going on with the Cleveland Guardians? Are you as astonished by the Guardians as I am and probably everybody else is in America?
I really am. And it just goes to prove you really can't count this organization out. 10-game losing streak. You have Ortiz and Clase getting banned till at least the end of August. And I'm sure we'll go into that. And you're like, well, we trade Shane Bieber. I'm just going over the highlights here that I'm sure we'll talk about.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Like, well, I mean, there goes this season. And now all of a sudden, they have a better record now than they did before the 10-game losing streak happened. Before the 10-game losing streak, there were 2 games over 500. They're now 4 games over 500. That's all, said and told. So and they have a pretty easy schedule remaining too. Get this too. On the last episode, we talked about how dismal of a record they had against winning teams. And the last 2 winning teams they've played, they've swept on the road. The
Astros and the Mets.
And now the Mets. So they're 6-0 on the road against 500 teams now. After all of this, it's kind of it's mind-boggling, but I love it. You can't count this team out.
Yeah, it's just unreal what they have been able to do, how they have been able to kind of reverse the fortunes. The trade deadline drama. One, I guess my first question is they trade Shane Bieber to the Blue Jays for a pitching prospect Cal Stephen. I don't have the name pronunciation correct, but he's got a bit of an injury, but dinged up. And he's been in the minor league. He was a 2nd-round pick in the 2024 MLB draft. 9-1. The stats I've got: 9-1, a 2.06 ERA, allowing 65 hits, 99 strikeouts in 91 and 2/3 innings with a .905 WHIP. I mean, it's a prospect. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that trade from the perspective of where the Guardians are and what that does for them as they're trying to, stay in this?
Yeah. Well, one thing I've learned is you can't count the Guardians out when they deal with pitchers. Like, that is the one thing they can do, is spot talent and develop talent, pitching wise, at least. I wish they could do more on the hitting side, but they have proven over and over again that they know what they're doing when they trade or draft pitchers. So I have to think that they targeted this guy and they got him. And essentially what they did is they just paid $7 million for him, because I think that's what they paid Bieber this season until they traded him, with the Blue Jays picking up the rest of the salary. So because we didn't get to see him at all this year. And if that's all we gave up for this prospect that may help us in a couple of years, I am definitely okay with that, especially when I thought for sure Carlos Santana would be gone at the deadline. There's all these rumors about Quan being gone, and we can go into that too. I'm glad he wasn't. All we did was give up a pitcher that hadn't even been a part of this team all year to get a prospect for a couple of years. So I'm definitely okay with that. Now, it'll be interesting come playoff time if the Guards make it and they end up facing Shane Bieber. If Toronto and the Guards end up, that's how things usually seem to work out for us. But that'll be interesting. But we would have lost him after this year anyways.
Yeah, that's kind of sad. That's kind of the sad truth of it. And when you put that in perspective, so I guess my first thought was, I wasn't so upset about the Bieber move because he still hasn't gotten up to the majors. He had a setback earlier this year. We get this pitching prospect back, and yes, he likely is going to be gone after this season because he's going to want X amount of dollars, and the Guardians are not going to be willing to pay it. And that's a different issue completely different issue that, we had to deal with. So I like the fact that they got another pitching prospect that they can theoretically bring up. He's doing pretty well. Bring him along and add to our staff, because we are going to need the arms for sure. They know how to develop them. So I'm not upset with that. We also, we were able to unload an injured Paul Sewald to the Tigers. for cash considerations or a player to be named later. And, Santana, no real trade value, worst first baseman batting stats since the end of May. Well, it's not what he does at the plate. It's what he does in the clubhouse or something like that. Right, Mike?
Yeah. Because we have enough hitters. We don't need an extra one. We're fine.
No. I think we're fine. And CJ Kafis has come up and he's getting some playing time. I'm still baffled by the fact that Manzardo is not playing every day. Are you puzzled by that?
Yeah, a little bit. And I guess they're going with the defensive angle on this one, since I think Santana is still playing, from what I can tell, like Gold Glove caliber defense at first base. And then they can fit in Manzardo at DH. So he's still getting the at-bats without risking the defensive liability, I guess. Although I don't think he plays a horrible first base. I guess if you were to have Manzardo play first base, who would you have DH?
Right. I don't know. I really don't. Doesn't it seem strange that, we've obviously got some interesting circumstances with David Fry not being able to play in the field.
Mm-hmm.
He's valuable at the plate, but can't play in the field. Okay, Fry or Schneemann. I guess Mike is saying have it the DH there. And that's fair. That's fair. But I feel like there was a time when we knew the lineup. Like every day you pretty much knew the lineup. It didn't matter who the pitcher, who was pitching on the other side. You knew who was going to be in the lineup. What do we got? And here, remember, 400 in the last 10 games. Yeah, Schneemann, if he's hitting 400 in the last 10 games, that is fantastic. So I think that, let me ask you this. With the moves that the Guardians did make and didn't make at the trade deadline, do you think they came out as winners or losers at the end of the day?
I think they came out winners, to tell you the truth. I didn't want to see a fire sale. I didn't want to see Stephen Kwan gone. We have a hard enough time trying to find a right fielder. Last thing we need is to go now look for another left fielder. So we kept an all-star left fielder. We but the one piece we traded, essentially the two pieces we traded, weren't even playing for the team right now. And we built for the future. And it seems like this team can win as built now. Whether they'll win a lot in the playoffs, who knows? But they're proving pretty resilient. So I think it's a win. And really, again, back to the Bieber trade, all the risk is with Toronto on this one. Because who knows if he doesn't have a setback or doesn't come back, the all-star pitcher, the Cy Young winning pitcher that he was, and they just gave up a pretty high-level prospect for him too. So there wasn't a lot of risk for the Guards, but a lot for Toronto on that. So I think overall it's a win. What about you?
I think it was no worse than a push. Okay. It was no worse than a push. I'm going to call it a win because, as you said, for the exact reasons you said, I couldn't have stated it any better. I really would have been very, very upset if the Guardians had, in fact, gone ahead and made a deal, of Stephen Kwan. Why would you give up a current healthy all-star who you have under contract for the next, 2 years? We have
this year and 2 more. Yep.
Right. We've got all this time with him. Why would you give him up now? That would be the most ridiculous thing ever, to get guys who can come up in another 2 years. What are you supposed to do in the meantime? That would be absolutely ludicrous. I think I could take it. I think I'd start walking with picket signs outside of Progressive Field, with Paul Dolan signs. And that just would have really driven me nuts if they had made that move. And at the end of the day, we don't even know that, I know that there's a lot of stuff going on with baseball. We talked about it. There may be a strike after next season. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what that plays into these decisions. It gets thrown around as a reasoning for some of the moves or the lack thereof by the Guardians or possibly other organizations. Can you believe, Mike, for as bad as we think we have it in Cleveland with the spending of the Dolans, there are teams that are far, far, far worse than the Guardians. Is that even possible? I had no idea it was possible.
I mean, I still remember going to the Guards Pittsburgh game during spring break this year, and the sellout crowd, only because it was Paul Skeens bobblehead night, chanting "Sell the team, sell the team." That's a team that hasn't been able to get it together in decades.
And then Mike makes a great point. The Twins. What happened? What in the world is going on there? They were so close. I mean, they fell apart. They fell apart last year down the stretch and never recovered. No. Never recovered. And that's just crazy. They've got a beautiful new ballpark up there. I know that things have been kind of nuts because I believe they were looking for ownership, a buyer, and then that didn't happen. They went. There's a whole thing going on with them. So that was crazy.
Their GM is a former Guards assistant GM too. So wow. He was probably brought up the right way.
He probably was, but it's just unreal. It's absolutely unreal. Okay, the Guardians after today's game are just 6 games out for the division. And as of right now, in the wild card, a game and a half behind the Yankees. The Yankees are at 61-54, Guardians 59-55. So we're only a game out in the loss column. We're 7-3 in the last 10. They are 4-6 in the last 10. And so they're kind of struggling. The Tigers, they had a month ago, I saw the stat, exactly a month ago, they were ahead of the Guardians by 15.5 games. We have gained back 9.5 games in a month. And we've got 6 games left against the Tigers, 3 home, 3 away. I mean, you think that if you go 4-2 in those games, and that's 2 games back, and you don't think you could pick up 4 games elsewhere along the way? This is just shaping up to be a heck of a potential run for the division and wild card. They have kept the Guardians have stayed relevant.
Yes. And it's amazing how the Tigers have kind of fallen apart too. There is didn't they have like a 7 or 8 game losing streak or something like that at some point too? So, I mean, yes. the Guards are kind of surging and the Tigers are struggling at the right time. And so this team, the Tigers team right now, it's not the same team at the beginning of the season. So when we play them, if they're still struggling, it's a whole different ball game. And talking about the Twins and their struggles, they just beat the Tigers 2 out of 3 games too to help us.
Yes,
so who knows? Like how does that happen after they sell off a third of their team?
Yeah, I was shocked. I was kind of ticked that we didn't take all 3 from the Twins right after they, went on a fire sale. But all right, when we took 2 out of 3, and then you go to New York and surprise, we sweep them. And I mean, what do you think about the way that the team has responded after the Emmanuel Clase news? And I mean, the gambling, it's unreal what is happening here and how they are still surviving at this point and are forging ahead, even with all of this uncertainty.
Yeah, that's real quick too. I just saw, at one point the Tigers had lost 12 of 13 games too. So they are struggling. But yeah, that wow. That is just a real shocker. I read in the Plain Dealer that this is the first time since the 1918 Black Sox scandal that 2 players from the same team have been suspended for gambling. Couple thoughts on this. One, no matter what happens, they're out till the end of August. Even if they're declared innocent or whatever, which I don't think is going to happen. They are still out till the end of August, where we've lost a middle starter, frontline to middle starter, and the most dominant closer in baseball. I've been very surprised to see how the Guardians have responded. Of course, the day after he gets suspended, Cade Smith blows a save, but the and Gaddis has had his struggles, but the bullpen's been pretty solid, even with that. So it's great to see how resilient this team is. And maybe in the long run, like maybe this is a good chance for these relievers to develop into something more because they're getting the opportunity where they wouldn't have had it, otherwise. Although this is the glass half full kind of philosophy. I mean, it's never good to lose a starting pitcher and the most dominant closer in the league.
Yeah.
And not only could they be out till August 31st, they could be out forever, and we just lose them.
Yeah, exactly.
My one aside to this, though, is if they are found innocent in the end, and we lose them for a month to a month and a half, isn't that just the ultimate Cleveland story where they actually did nothing wrong, and yet we get penalized for a month and a half without their services?
Yeah. And then on top of that, even if they were to get cleared, all right, so there's 2 points. Even if they were to get cleared, the issue is this: it would take time to ramp back up to be able to get back and pitch.
Sure.
Then there's a mental thing. Do you, as a fan, as a teammate, how do you trust these people? If there's even these allegations, don't you have that question in the back of your mind? Like, well, how can I trust that you didn't blow those pitches on purpose? Yeah, they weren't. I think what it was is these micro bets is what they were referred to, Mike, and the prop bets. And of course, Governor DeWine is looking to pass something to get rid of the prop bets or something along those lines in Ohio after this issue arose. I just don't know that you can even trust them in the locker room. Now, their lockers have been cleaned out from what I'm reading or have heard. And then also, so you've got the issue of even if they get found innocent, they're not going to be able to they're going to have to ramp up to come back and pitch. And then you've got this lingering question. I think they're done. And also the fact that Clase, that happened when it happened, the rumors had it, people were saying that in all likelihood, he was getting moved.
See, I hear that. Okay. I hear that with the rumors, but if we weren't going to move Quan, I don't see that we were going to move Clase. I think we still had like 2 or 3 years of control on him on a very team-friendly contract.
Yeah.
Unless, our pitching gurus know something we don't about relievers and how they blow out their arms after a few years. A lot of relievers don't last that long. A lot of dominant closers don't last more than 4 or 5 years.
No, absolutely not. They don't last that long. And if you had a team, like Mike pointed out, Detroit and the Yankees added to their bullpen. That was the biggest win for teams at the trade deadline, was getting pitching, not hitting. So they could have taken advantage of that and gotten a high return on Clase. And then, I mean, as Mike pointed out, I read these reports, and again, I don't know. There were reports that the investigation started last year. Then how did it take this long? You know what I mean? That's a big issue to be investigating last year and let it go on for all this time if you have that evidence. I don't know. But the bottom line is, I think it's very troubling. So let me ask you this, because earlier this year, Rob Manfred or whomever, I think it was his decision, but they changed the rules such that now at this point posthumously, Pete Rose could get selected for the Hall of Fame. I see this and I say, no, I don't care what you did on the field. You broke the rules. We don't know exactly what you did. I don't give a flying rat's patootie. You have disgraced the game. Get out. Mm-hmm. You don't belong in the Hall of Fame. You're going to disgrace the game like that? You know the rules.
Yeah.
So I have no sympathy for Pete Rose. I have no sympathy for, anybody else who gambled on the game and put it into question, because how am I supposed to watch the game and trust that someone's not out there, throwing a ball game?
I mean, there are already questions about, well, did this have something to do with Clase's implosion in the postseason? Whether it's true or not, who knows? But the questions are there, and they're legitimate questions that you can't say, Well, of course not. You know, that they are there now, and they will always shadow him now with how bad he actually did play last postseason. It could have been nothing, but you never know now.
Right. You have no idea. You have no idea. I mean, I believe my understanding, the understanding is these are like these prop bets, these micro bets. And it was just like, okay, you're going to throw a ball in the dirt. So it's a ball. You're not really hosing your team that much by throwing one bad pitch to the first hitter of an inning when no one's on or whatever it is. Right. Mm-hmm. So I can't say one way or another there, but it definitely is a problem. But on to good news for the Guardians today. I was working and I'm watching the game and I'm seeing some stuff and I'm like, what's going on? Gavin Williams, and like he's got a no-hitter through 6, 7, through 8. I'm like, okay, I'm going to put this on the app, but I'm not going to turn the volume on. I'll have it on. If I think it's going to get to that last out, I wanted to hear the hammy call.
Oh yeah.
But unfortunately, Juan Soto is a real pain in the rear end, and he crushed one.
As always.
That was not good. Although I saw an argument online or a discussion of like, would it have been worse if it was Francisco Lindor that had hit it or better?
That is a good question. I don't know. I mean, they're both bad. Neither one would have been good. I probably would have rather had Juan Soto hit it.
I think so. It would have been salt in the wound, if Lindor had done that. But Gavin Williams ends up going 8 2/3, allowing 1 hit, 1 run, 6 strikeouts, 4 walks. And the no-hitter was broken up. No-hitter shutout broken up with 1 out in the 9th. So, Mike, the Guardians' last no-hitter was actually a perfect game. Len Barker, May 15th, 1981. We have the longest drought in MLB. What's another stat for futility that a Cleveland franchise could have? I mean, what's one more?
And how many times have we had? I just saw this too. Taken a no-hitter into the 9th inning and had it broken up. I think there's like 9 times that's happened in Guard/Indians history. And in 2015, Carrasco did it with 2 outs in the 9th inning and didn't get it done.
That's unreal. I started looking that up. So I'm glad you and I were on the same page there, and we're both looking these things up. So what do we got here? So 1 home run to tie the Mets franchise record. Well, I'm glad he didn't do that. That would have sucked. That would have kind of sucked there. So it's just crazy what is going on, with the Guardians. I'm pleasantly surprised that they are still in it. I think your order is up, Mike.
I know. I'm trying.
Yeah. Are you a short order cook? Are we at a diner right now? Because I think your order is right.
I got some things to do. I'll be right back.
Yeah. There it is. You got to wash it. Look, Mr. Krabs, clean dishes. Clean. Oh, sponge boy me, Bob. So I don't know. Guardians keep on rolling, and it's just unreal what they have been able to cobble together with subpar offense on most nights and iffy pitching other nights. It's always an adventure.
Yeah,
I guess that's the best way I can.
25-7 over the last 32 games. That's pretty impressive.
That's crazy. That is just unreal to be that good. That's over 75% win percentage. I don't have the exact percentage. I'm not doing my mathematician here, but that's, if it was 24-8, that would be 75%. So they're above 75% winning percentage over the last 32. I'll take it. I will take it. Okay. So Mike, you were in Ohio, you were in Stowe, but were you in Stark County? Because if you were, you need to hit up Horizon Audio. If you're looking for all the best in auto solutions, stop by one of Horizon Audio's 3 locations in North Canton on Whipple Avenue and Canton on Tuscarawas Street, or in Alliance on South Union Avenue. Horizon Audio, been in business since 1989, and they are owned by my high school classmate, good friend Aaron Joseph. He's owned all 3 of those since 2016. For all of your auto solutions, please check out horizonaudio.com for all of the information about Horizon Audio. And next time, again, if you're in Stark County looking for all the best auto solutions, stop by one of their 3 locations in North Canton, in Canton, or in Alliance. And now let's pause for a word from our sponsors. And welcome back, everybody, to Going nuCLEar, full-blown coverage of the land, a part of the Fanatical Elves Network, a subsidiary of Fans First Sports Network. And folks, just to remind you, check out all of the great programs that are part of the Fanatical Elves Network, as well as on Fans First Sports Network. If you don't catch the video live, you can catch the audio replays on all of your favorite podcast platforms. You can go on I believe Spotify, Apple. You can even go on the Odyssey app. You can get on all these different apps and check out the podcasts that are part of the Fanatical Elves Network. I think on Friday night, Mike, the group of the Fanatical Elves, Lou Marconi and Sherry, the Burning River Browns talk, they are going to be doing a live watch along of the Browns game and having various folks drop on by here. So that will be big fun there. So again, everybody be sure to tune in to all of the great programming and content on the Fanatical Elves Network, as well as Fans First Sports Network. So Mike from the UK, 47 hours, 24 minutes approximately till Browns football. I guess my thought is this, Mike, isn't it odd how things seem to work themselves out?
Yeah, is this what you call working themselves out, I guess?
In a way.
Yeah.
Basically, I mean, you went from everybody complaining and crying that, who's a Shedeur Sanders fan, that he's not getting an opportunity, to now he is going to start on Friday night due to injury, but due to Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel, but he has a golden opportunity to potentially catapult himself ahead of Dylan Gabriel, possibly even make it such that they think, you know what, Sanders is pretty good. We don't need Pickett, because it's it seems pretty clear that Flacco is going to be week 1 starter. Pickett's been limited for the past week, already with a hamstring injury. And then Dylan Gabriel, I believe, is also hamstring. They were able to participate in the joint practice, not the full 11-on-11s, but 7-on-7s down with the Carolina Panthers, which is who the Browns will be playing on Friday night from Carolina. So that is just kind of crazy. And then they had to go and bring in Snoop Huntley so that they had another arm in the locker room and on the field. I mean, just I don't even know. I can't explain these things.
Yeah. So what do we have? 6 quarterbacks on the roster now?
Yes, we do. Why is Watson?
Well, maybe we should start Watson just to ensure he gets injured even further and won't come back at any point this season.
All right, Mike. Okay, that's good. I like that. That's creative right there. That is creative for certain. But yeah, it's kind of odd that he's even down there, but considering all the time he was rehabbing and he wasn't out with the team, and even when they're in Berea, they were saying he's normally inside the facility. I don't know.
Yeah,
he's just.
I guess, and if you're gonna have your first start against any team, I guess Carolina is the best team you could play against their starters, because Carolina is still pretty bad. So, it's still kind of easing into it for Shedeur.
Right. Now so as of the press conference today with Coach Stefanski, he mentioned that Sanders and Huntley will be the only 2 quarterbacks who will play.
I think that's about
that
right.
is actually, this is great. This is a golden opportunity. Now, preface this, Mike. Jerry Jeudy will not be playing. He's listed as wide receiver 1. Cedric Tillman will also not be playing. He's listed as wide receiver 2 on the depth chart. However, Sanders hasn't been playing with the 1 and 2, with the ones. So he hasn't been playing with them anyway. I don't think that that's that big of a deal to not have your top receivers out there, considering he hasn't played with them. I don't know. What do you think about that in terms of his abilities to succeed out there?
Yeah, I agree. I'm sure he has chemistry with the receivers he's been playing with on the second and third team. So I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal. And how long do you think Carolina's defensive starters are going to play anyways? Is it just going to be a series? Is it going to be the first half? I imagine it's probably not going to be that long. So he'll probably only get one series against the starting defense anyways. And we all know, I think we all know by this point, Sanders is not going to start week 1. That's going to be Joe Flacco. That's the only reason he's not playing right now. We can't injure him. So why not, if we already know he's not going to be the starter, let him get these reps. I have no problem with that. Even if he gets destroyed, which I don't think he will, and I obviously hope he doesn't. It's going to be a great learning experience for him to go out there and do this in a preseason game. So I'm glad that they've already announced that it's going to be him. It's like you're not trying to divide the game into, fit 4 quarterbacks in. Let him play a half, 3 quarters, and put Huntley in for the last quarter or whatever. So I'm
exactly. Because Huntley is simply a body. What I couldn't believe is when they announced the other day that they were bringing in Huntley, people were losing their minds about the Browns signing Huntley. And it was because like, what are they doing? What's going on? And they're all outraged. I'm like, do you not understand we got quarterbacks who are injured and we need extra arms? Why are you flipping out over this? This is absolutely ridiculous. Will you calm down? And then they're like, everybody's laughing at the Browns. They already laughed at us. We signed Deshaun Watson, who was being alleged of all these crimes, for $230 million guaranteed. Really? Do you think this is really going to hurt any worse than that?
Yeah.
I'm just like, give me a break here. Just absolutely give me a break. Now, and just in terms of how things have worked out, Sanders falls to the 5th round. He gets drafted after, Dylan Gabriel. He's listed 4th on the depth chart, yet somehow it's possible, due to an injury, he has this opportunity to possibly jump over him.
So let's say he has a great game and just blows everybody away. Would you be calling for him to possibly be the week 1 starter, or is that just out of the question for you?
For me, that's out of the question.
Okay.
This is a different beast. I don't think he's quite ready yet. I mean, let's pose it this way, only in Cleveland, Mike. Okay. When Baker was a rookie, he didn't start immediately. In fact, it wasn't until the 3rd game, when Tyrod Taylor goes out with an injury, that he comes in and leads us to the victory over the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he should have been starter week 1? Now, and let's look at this. He was also a number 1 overall pick, for what it's worth. But do you think that he should have been the starter from week 1 immediately, as opposed to the veteran Tyrod Taylor?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so I think that it's fair, especially given the circumstances, that Sanders just chill. Let's just chill here for a little bit. And in fact, exactly what I was thinking, Mike, he has an opportunity, Sanders does, to potentially catapult himself up to quarterback 2. We're playing at least 3 quarterbacks this year. There is something is going to happen. Whether we're losing or there's an injury, we're going to play at least 3 quarterbacks. I guarantee you it's a tradition like no other. The Browns quarterback carousel. I mean, it's one of those things you can set your watch to it.
Especially when your starting quarterback's going to be 49 years old.
So something like that.
I got arthritis already. He's got to deal with, and you got 2 rookies, so one of them's not going to work out, and then probably the other one's going to get injured, and Huntley will be back. So probably more than 3. I would go with this year.
Oh, you're going to go on the over. You're going to go over 3. Okay.
Yeah, that's
all right.
that's a bet we should probably make this year.
I think so. I think that would be a good way to do it. It is going to be interesting to see what Shedeur Sanders faces here. Let's see. I had something here, a quote from Kevin Stefanski's press conference here today. They were asking about his dealings with Dave Canales and the head coach of the Panthers, and what he thinks Stefanski thinks that Sanders will be facing or looking at here. Now, that is an interesting thing, Mike. I mean, Andrew Berry seems to be making it sound like they're fine going into a 4, but if there's only 3, the odd man out is Pickett. I'm almost guaranteeing the odd man out is Pickett. There's going to be another team that has somebody go down and needs a veteran. They're not looking for another rookie. Stafford is having back problems. I mean, Tampa Bay just signed Teddy Bridgewater, who retired like 5 times.
Yep.
So anyway, let me play this clip, and hopefully this comes through here. My sound setup was a little bit different, but this is from Kevin Stefanski today, press conference prior to the joint practice with the Panthers.
So I've got nothing on this end.
Okay. All right. So this is not all right. All right. Well, you know what? I apologize there. I do not know if that is coming through again, folks. I do, apologize here on a little bit of the technical end. Yep. Mike, thank you for confirming that. Okay. So they asked Kevin Stefanski about the plans and what Shedeur Sanders might be facing against the Panthers defense. And I mean, he said, nobody game plans for these. So what you're doing a lot of times, if you have unscouted looks, that's our job. Talked about the quarterback room, that's what they're going to be deploying, so on and so forth. So the bottom line is this is going to be a really great opportunity for Shedeur Sanders to see what he does against what he doesn't know. He really has no idea what's coming at him. And I know there were some reports or some discussions today. I guess Albert Breer came out and was possibly saying that, one of the issues with Sanders has been his ability to get in and out of the huddle and understanding the playbook, which is not uncommon for a rookie. But that's where kind of Dylan Gabriel was a little bit ahead of him. So I'm not sure how much of that is true. But at the same time, I also feel like that's something that with experience, you're going to get through that. I don't think he's a dummy. At least that's my thought on it. What do you think about just overall his potential?
So that it's hard to, I think, for Gabriel's potential, just to make sure we're talking about the same.
Well, yeah, Gabriel. Both, one or both.
Yeah, they both have potential, and that's why they were drafted where they were drafted. So, without going to the practices and seeing the reps myself, it's I don't know until we actually watch them in the preseason or watch them after this year and get in some regular season games. I think it's impossible to tell. But the fact that they have potential is what's exciting. And, this year, I think we all kind of agree is probably going to be a dumpster fire again. But the one thing that I think we'll all be watching for is to see how these rookies progress too. And not just the quarterbacks too. Some of these other guys we drafted where we think we actually got a fairly good draft class, Fannin and, the linebacker.
Fannin, Schlesinger, Mason Graham. Yes, Schlesinger, Mason Graham.
Seem like solid, and seeing how they develop along with the 2 quarterbacks. So those are the things to watch for this year. And after I pay my ungodly amount of money for the NFL ticket, what I'll be watching for when I turn on the Browns, not necessarily their wins and losses.
Right. it is kind of incredible that we are going to be watching for the development of these rookies. And we've still got this one giant question mark with Quinshon Judkins. Sounded like from the press conference that was held out in Berea by Jimmy and Dee Haslam that it seems as if he's going to eventually get in there. But there's no specific timetable. I just have this feeling or, thought that he may need to come to a point where he just agrees to something, a lesser charge, and takes whatever punishment, because otherwise he's still sitting out. Yeah. I mean, how long is this legal process going to take? And no one is reporting on it. No one from Florida is telling us, well, are you going to do what's going to happen here?
Yeah.
When is the next? And I haven't looked to try and find out any public records to see when the next court date might be. If he feels he can clear his name, okay, but how long?
Yeah.
Court cases don't go that quickly, to be quite honest. I mean, from my experience in working in not working in criminal law, but just in general, you have to run through all the proper steps. You have to run through the discovery phase. You have to you're going to have one side call this witness, and then they got to, in part of the discovery, you do written discovery, you do depositions of people, and then potentially you are, we've got to continue it. Oh, we've got to continue, something happens with this and that and the other, and it gets drug out. I would just say, I mean, I know you don't, I think if I read correctly, and I'm kind of shooting from the hip here, that I think that the charge is a misdemeanor. Now, it's still going to cost him. It's still going to result in him getting suspended almost certainly by the NFL, even though it is a misdemeanor. But at the end of the day, it gets it out of the way.
He could always ask for a pardon too.
He could.
So those are getting handed out. So
yes, they are. Yes, they are. So he could do that. Then we lose Martin Emerson to an Achilles tear, non-contact. How many more guys are going to tear their Achilles? And they're not going to start to rethink the training that these athletes are doing. I would love to know the stats, but it sure as heck seems like it is so much more prominent now than it was long ago.
Yeah, that's a great question. And what are they doing? Is it just the repeated, your body doesn't get time to recover because, training camp starts so early after it'd be great to look into that. You're right, especially after all the basketball Achilles tears we saw in the postseason. Now this in football. Now I'll say, is it a blessing in disguise that it happened so early for the Browns that now they can plan around it, as opposed to him doing this halfway through the season? Or
right, exactly. This is going to be, like you said, a possible blessing. Greg Newsome needs to step it up and look at that. Good job. We didn't trade Newsome for a draft pick. Yeah, we need him to come back into form in a very major way. This is a big opportunity for him. Guys like Cam Mitchell from Northwestern, he also has a chance to step up here. The Browns are going to need some help there on that side of the ball. Hopefully also, if the addition of Mason Graham, I know he's still recovering from injury, but like Michael Hall, if the defensive line can reap havoc, it will make the lives of the defensive backs so much easier. Yes. Because they won't have to cover for nearly as long. But again, this whole thing with the Achilles tear, from the little I've read, and again, I'd have to do some research on it to find out. But the little research I did, it sounds as if, you've got all this muscle mass and the wear and tear, and it snaps. So these people are constantly training. They are in so much better shape now than they once were. I mean, you think about football players from 40 years ago, like offensive linemen. You think they were defensive linemen? I mean, those guys were not in great shape. I mean, heck, what was it? They had the pictures back in the day of the guys smoking in the locker room at halftime. So that's crazy. Then we had, and then Hicks retiring. So that kind of changes things up with the linebacking core there. But we've got, we brought Baker in, and and Schlesinger apparently has been looking very good in training camp, which is amazing. I never heard of the guy, so that's my bad.
And only in Cleveland do we can you imagine pairing him up with JOK before he got injured? How great of a linebacking core could that have been if
right now they wouldn't have drafted him, I don't think. If JOK was healthy, they wouldn't have drafted him.
That's true.
Yeah, and that is correct as well, Mike. I mean, a few years ago, Mike from the UK, thank you for, as always, chiming in throughout here. An Achilles tear, might have been career ending. Just like the Tommy John, the injury for pitchers in baseball, that would have been career ending. And they came up with a surgery and they're able to recover. And that's amazing in and of itself. But again, why are we having this happen? Why is it happening seemingly so much more these days than it did in the past? Are you overtraining? Are you pushing your body to a point that it can't sustain? Mm-hmm. And why I'm not understanding why they haven't figured this out. I mean, it's almost as if now, Mike, did you happen to catch Happy Gilmore 2?
we watched it 2 nights ago, actually. Yes.
Right. So it's like that the fact that the one golfer who could actually outdrive Happy Gilmore was due to a funny accident of getting a shoe jammed up his rear end, and then having that tendon, dislodged or torn or whatever. Yeah. So you would think that I'm joking, half joking, but you'd think somewhere the doctors and the medical field could say, we can see a pattern of what is going on here. It starts with, and you'll see the guys, as we've seen, calf strains, and then they try and push it, and that's it. And we thank our lucky stars as Cavs fans that Donovan Mitchell's Achilles didn't blow.
Right.
That would have been just horrific there. Other news around the league, you got some disgruntled players. You got Micah Parsons, who's disgruntled in Dallas, but he'll probably sign the morning of the opening game, like Dak Prescott did. Yeah. But Terry McLaurin, former Ohio State Buckeye, once out from Washington, which first of all is kind of surprising. And I'm not from a financial perspective, but that team is on the upswing.
Yeah.
Why would you want to be? I can't imagine the contract situation is so dire that you're like, I'm out, forget winning.
Well, I think all these players care about is money. I mean, we need to look that up. What is he getting paid, and what does he want to get paid? He can't be that underpaid, I imagine.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and it does sound like, I guess the question is this: if it was the right price, and I don't think that they would do. I don't think we could afford the right price. Might be draft capital. Would you want to see Terry McLaurin on the Browns? He's 30 years old already. Do you want a quote unquote aging wide receiver?
100%. I mean, I think this is one of our weakest areas is wide receiver right now. What would I give up for him? Oh man, probably maybe a 4th rounder.
Yeah, I wouldn't give up any higher than a 3rd because of his age, not because of his productivity. I mean, we gave up a 2nd rounder for Elijah Moore. We gave up a 5th rounder. Didn't you? A 5th rounder for Amari Cooper?
Yeah.
Am I remember? Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, you're right.
So I can't see us giving up anything. Wouldn't be willing to give up anything like that. And then I don't know if he end up getting an extension like Myles Garrett. I think if he's talking about Micah Parsons, yeah, there it is. Parsons set to make $21.324 million this year on the 5th-year option of his rookie deal. So I mean, it's all these guys. It's interesting. Jerry Jones is a strange individual.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. And just looking up real quick here, it looks like for McLaurin, $25 million this year from adding up all his base salary and
Okay.
signing
Okay.
bonus and roster bonus. And then he's a free agent after this year. So he just has to, I mean, it is weird because if you really want to go somewhere, make it $25 million and then
right, ball out, and then you're good to go. Although I get, and if they want to franchise tag you, sure, just pay me more money.
Right.
He could be like Kirk Cousins and keep collecting the bag.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, but yeah, I'm with you. I would love them, but for the right price.
Exactly. That's the key. Everybody's got a price for the $1 million man. So we shall see. What are you looking for? Last thought on the Browns. What are you looking for in Friday's preseason opener against the Panthers? Apparently, it was a bit of a sloppy practice. Penalties for both teams. Penalties have been a problem for the Browns, especially last season and even to an extent the season before. Just what are you expecting on Friday?
Well, number one, no injuries. And number two, good look at Sanders. And then number three, I think you hit it right on the head there when you said, can we clean up these pre-snap penalties? Because that killed us last year. It's killed us for the last 2 years. And so have they made an emphasis to actually fix that? So those are the three things I'll be looking at.
Right. And a disciplined performance. Exactly. Because most of when you look at that three-pronged saying or statement or motto, mantra, tough, smart, and accountable, they're not very tough. When they do these penalties, they sure aren't very smart. And it didn't seem like they got held to be very accountable for making those types of errors. So I am going to be
getting arrested. Also, not being
yeah, that's not a good thing there, especially when that's like you got as the owners, the first questions you come out to is about the arrest of another arrest of a player.
Right.
That's not good. That is not good at all. But I am looking forward to the game. This is a very interesting preseason. Lots to watch here. Looking forward to it. I want to see what Dylan Sampson does. I hope that Harold Fannin gets some opportunities. I'm excited. I know it's crazy to be talking Cleveland Browns football already. Where is the summer gone?
Yeah, I agree. Just to be disappointed yet again when the regular season starts.
But we have to set our standards at the right spot, Mike. And we cannot be disappointed. If you expect nothing, you cannot be disappointed.
So don't get fooled when they actually have a great preseason like this and go 3-0 and become preseason champions again, just to be let down when the regular season starts. Because that's what will happen.
Exactly. All right, Mike. Well, let's close this one down. Why don't you tell everybody what has you going nuclear this week?
Okay. Well, normally I keep it in the sports realm, but something yesterday had me go nuclear. So I went to register my car in the state of Virginia, and I was looking at all the fees they're tacking on, and I got a fee because I had a low emission vehicle, and I don't have an electric car or anything. It's just a good, gets good gas mileage. But apparently because I don't fill it up enough because it gets good gas mileage, I'm not paying enough gas tax to, help fix all the highways and roads around here. So they tack on a low emission vehicle tax on my vehicle registration. Like, I thought we were trying to buy and encourage low emission vehicles. Like, what are we doing? So that's what has me going nuclear this week.
Mike, I think my head, the steam and it might have started shooting out my ears, but for the AirPods in here, and my head might start spinning around. I haven't. So did you say you went to pay your registration, or what was it that you?
Just the annual registration. Okay. And it wasn't that much. It was just the fact that they were
the breakdown
having a low emission vehicle.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think with myself also being in the Commonwealth of Virginia, when I pay the property tax, and I guess it's not even a registration, I'm paying the personal property tax. I don't know.
Which also makes no sense.
Now, so maybe I don't have the same registration you have. Something doesn't seem. Whatever it is.
Anyways, we'll compare registration notes later off the air. But
we will, but that whole deep breath here. Deep breath, because you might get me going nuclear in a manner that is so crazy. They will have to sound alarms here. With that would just be very bad, my friends. And yes, it literally makes no freaking sense, Mike. We're all on the same page here. Well, you know what has me going nuclear? Fox Big Noon Kickoff and how they are ruining Ohio State football. Apparently, not only is our first game the marquee matchup between the preseason number 1 and number 2 teams in the country, Texas and Ohio State, coming up on August the 30th, going to be a big noon game. Mm-hmm. I'm looking and finding out apparently a huge game against Penn State is going to be a big noon game. Like, I'm sick of Fox. Go away. Go away, please, and let us have our night games. I'm sick of watching us at noon. Like, it should be, Michigan. Okay, that's been forever. The game against Michigan is at noon. It's been that way. But all these other opportunities, everybody else is getting to be highlighted and in prime time and all this cool stuff. And we've had that throughout the years. But no, Fox Big Noon Kickoff, other than the Ohio State, they'd have nothing. They'd have absolutely nothing. I love Urban Meyer, but they get Charles Woodson and Mark Ingram and all those other clowns, and they can go away, please. And you can take Joel Klatt and Gus Johnson with you as well. Thank you very much.
That also makes no freaking sense. I'm with you.
I'm a little bit disappointed. Very disappointed with that. Yeah, exactly, Mike. The number 1 at noon. So Fox Big Noon Kickoff, Ohio State football. That is what has me going nuclear here tonight. So, Mike, thank you very much as always. Mike from the UK, thank you for tuning in. I know Sherry was tuned in earlier. Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody who joined us here this evening. Again, be sure to check out all of the Fanatical Elves programming, and you could find the audio, the podcast. So if you're driving around, you want to catch us, you can find them on all your favorite podcast platforms. Just look for Fanatical Elves. You can search for shows about the Cleveland Browns. You can look for Going nuCLEar on there. You can check out my other podcast, the Best Doggone Podcast in the Land with Ethan and Heather. And it's good stuff there. So of course, want to thank you heard from a word from our sponsors, and also once again want to just remind you, if you're in Stark County and you're looking for all your auto solutions, be sure to check out Horizon Audio at horizonaudio.com. So, Mike, that's going to do it here this evening. Appreciate it as always. So for Mike Rasinski, I'm Ethan Greenberg, and you've been tuned in to Going nuCLEar, full-blown coverage of the land.